The sea has always been a place of mystery, a world where legends are born and men disappear without leaving even a whisper behind. But imagine this, a fully armed pirate ship, its crew alive and well one evening, only to vanish by dawn. No floating wreckage, no bodies, not even a torn sail drifting on the tide. Just silence. Sailors spoke of it in hushed voices, for such disappearances were considered more than accidents. To them, the ocean was alive, unpredictable, unforgiving, and perhaps haunted. When a pirate vessel disappeared without a trace, men feared curses, sea monsters, or the wrath of the very waters they plundered. Was it a storm too sudden to survive? A mutiny so brutal that the ship was swallowed by violence? Or something darker, something beyond explanation? In the golden age of piracy, survival was never guaranteed. Food could rot, storms could strike, and enemies lurked behind every horizon. But when a whole ship, with its cannons, treasure, and men, simply ceased to exist, it created a tale that no logic could fully explain. These vanishings haunted the taverns of port cities, where drunken sailors swore they'd seen ghost ships sailing under moonlight. They spoke of cursed captains who bargained with the devil, of ships pulled beneath the waves by forces unseen. Tonight, we will step into that world, where fear and reality collide. We will trace the myths and the truths, uncovering how an entire crew of ruthless pirates could vanish without leaving behind even a single clue. Was it nature, betrayal, or something that still drifts in the shadows of the sea? This is the story of the ship that disappeared without a trace, and the chilling legends it left behind. Life aboard a pirate ship was not the romantic adventure painted in old stories. It was brutal survival. These vessels, often stolen merchant ships, became floating prisons of salt, sweat, and danger. The air stank of damp wood, spoiled food, and unwashed men crammed together in tight quarters. Rats scurried across the decks, gnawing at ropes and bread alike, while lice tormented the crew day and night. Pirates lived by a harsh code, discipline mixed with desperation. Every man had his duty, from scrubbing decks to keeping watch on the crow's nest for sails on the horizon. Cannons were polished, weapons sharpened, but meals were meager. Most of the time, food consisted of hardtack so tough it could break a tooth, salted fish that tasted of rot, and water turning sour with mold. Rum became not just a drink, but medicine, currency, and comfort. Sleep was rare and uneasy. Pirates slept in hammocks, swaying with the ship's violent motion, lulled by the groans of wood and the endless crash of waves. Storms made the ship a coffin of chaos. Lightning splitting the sky, masts shuddering, men clinging to ropes to avoid being swept overboard. Illness was rampant, scurvy, dysentery, fever, and without doctors, many never returned from their voyages. Yet despite the misery, life at sea had its intoxicating lure. The promise of gold, freedom from kings, and power over merchants gave these men a reason to endure the torment. But such a fragile existence also meant that one storm, one mutiny, or one unseen danger could erase them forever. And for the ship that disappeared without a trace, daily life was a countdown to a fate no one saw coming. One night, the pirate ship sailed strong and steady, its sails full of wind, the crew alive with the promise of plunder. By morning, the horizon was empty. No splintered wood, no drifting corpses, no sign of the vessel at all. To the world, it was as if the ship had never existed. Such a disappearance sparked fear and speculation. Some believed a sudden storm had swallowed the vessel whole. In the Caribbean and Atlantic, tempests could rise in minutes, walls of water towering like mountains, lightning tearing ships apart, and waves strong enough to drag them to the depths. But storms leave traces, floating wreckage, scattered barrels, the bodies of men. Here there was nothing. Others whispered of mutiny, a rebellion in the dead of night. Pirates were notorious for betrayal. Greed turned shipmates into enemies. Perhaps the captain was slain, the loyal crew cut down, and the survivors scattered into the sea. Yet even mutiny leaves scars. Why was no wreckage ever found? Then came the most chilling theory. The ship was cursed. Sailors swore it had stolen treasure from a Spanish galleon, guarded by priests. Others claimed the captain mocked the wrath of the sea itself, daring Neptune to take him. Some even said the ship was dragged down by a giant shadow beneath the waves, the work of a sea serpent, or worse, the devil himself. In taverns across the Caribbean, men drank and shuddered as the tale spread. A ship here one moment, gone the next. No survivors to tell the truth. Was it nature, betrayal, or something darker? For centuries, the sea has kept its silence, and the pirate ship remains one of its cruelest mysteries. The ocean was not just a road for pirates, it was their deadliest enemy. To sail upon its surface was to gamble with forces beyond human control. Among the greatest terrors were rogue waves, towering walls of water rising without warning, capable of smashing a ship in seconds. Sailors swore these waves appeared like living beasts, swallowing vessels whole, leaving no survivor and no wreckage. Then there were whirlpools, those spiraling maws of the sea. Pirates told tales of ships caught in their grip, dragged into spinning chasms, masts splintering, men screaming as the ocean devoured them alive. Most whirlpools were exaggerations of currents and tides, but to men who had seen the sea boil and spin, the myth became reality. Hidden reefs were another merciless killer. Beneath the blue calm lay jagged stone teeth. One misstep in navigation, one storm tossing a vessel off course, and the hull could be ripped open like parchment. Ships would vanish within minutes, swallowed by the sea before cries for help could even echo. And then came the legends. Sea monsters said to stalk the deep. The Kraken, a beast so vast its tentacles could crush a ship and drag it below. Serpents longer than masts, their eyes glowing in moonlight. Sharks that followed vessels for weeks, as though sensing death before it arrived. For the pirates who vanished, it mattered little whether these monsters were real or imagined. Fear alone could kill a man as swiftly as the ocean. The sea did not need curses or betrayal to claim its victims. Nature itself was enough to erase an entire ship, leaving behind only silence and the shuddering tales of those who dared to follow. While the sea itself was merciless, sometimes the greatest danger to a pirate ship came not from nature, but from men. Life among pirates was built on greed, and trust was fragile at best. A captain's command was respected only as long as he delivered plunder and kept the crew fed. The moment treasure was hidden or rations ran thin, whispers of mutiny began. Betrayal was a constant shadow. A loyal-looking crewmate might strike in the night, slipping a knife between a captain's ribs, or lead others into rebellion for the promise of gold. Entire ships had vanished because their own crew destroyed one another before the sea could. The deck could turn into a battlefield, blood soaking the wood as men fought not against enemies, but their brothers. But mutiny was not the only human factor. Pirate ships were hunted relentlessly by naval forces. The British, Spanish, and French sent warships to scour the seas, ambushing vessels under cover of darkness or luring them into traps. A single broadside of cannon fire could sink a ship in minutes, sending all souls to the bottom with no trace but drifting smoke. There were also darker rumors of spies among the crew. Informants who marked their own ship for capture, slipping secret signals to nearby navies. The ship that disappeared without a trace might have sailed directly into an ambush, betrayed from within. No need for storms, monsters, or curses when human treachery was enough to erase a vessel from history. In the end, the greatest threat to pirates was often not the sea itself, but the knives and cannons of men. And in that age, death by betrayal was as common as death by storm. When a ship vanished without a trace, sailors searched for answers. Some turned to storms or betrayal, but many believed in something darker, the curse of ghost ships. For centuries, men swore they had seen vessels sailing silently across the horizon, crewed not by the living, but by shadows. The most feared of these legends was the Flying Dutchman. Said to be a ghostly galleon doomed to sail forever, it appeared as a harbinger of doom. Sailors described it glowing faintly under moonlight, sails torn but never falling, crewless yet moving with purpose. To spot it was to invite disaster, for many ships vanished soon after glimpsing its spectral form. But the Dutchman was not alone in maritime folklore. From the Caribbean to the icy waters of the North Atlantic, sailors told tales of phantom ships rising from the mist. Some appeared burning, their decks aflame, yet never consumed. Others drifted silently beside real ships, only to dissolve into fog as dawn broke. These stories were fueled by the disappearances of pirate vessels. How could a ship, fully manned and armed, vanish without leaving a plank or a barrel behind? To sailors, the answer was simple. The sea claimed its debt, and cursed ships carried their crews into eternity. In taverns, drunk pirates whispered that the ship which disappeared without a trace had been sighted again years later, crewed by pale men with hollow eyes eternally wandering the seas. Whether hallucination, fear, or truth, these ghostly legends blurred the line between history and myth. For men who lived each day with death beside them, the thought of cursed waters and phantom ships was not a fantasy, but a warning. Centuries have passed, Yet the mystery of the pirate ship that vanished without a trace still lingers like a ghost on the waves. Historians dig through records, searching for storms, battles, or betrayals to explain the disappearance. Sailors, however, cling to their legends, believing the ship sails still, somewhere beyond the horizon where man was never meant to tread. The truth may never be known. Perhaps the vessel was swallowed by a rogue wave, its crew screaming into the abyss. Perhaps betrayal cut it down from within, knives striking before dawn. Or perhaps the legends are right, that the sea itself demanded a toll, dragging the pirates into a cursed eternity. Each possibility is as chilling as the last, and each adds weight to the silence left behind. But what makes the mystery endure is not just how the ship vanished, but why no sign was ever found. No barrels, no splintered mast, no treasure scattered along a shore. Just the empty ocean, vast and endless. It is this silence that gave birth to stories, and it is those stories that turned the vanished pirates into something greater than men. They became symbols of the sea's wrath, reminders of its power, and warnings to those who dared to challenge it. In every crashing wave, in every storm that rips across the horizon, sailors still feel the shadow of the ship that disappeared. They tell its story not to comfort themselves, but to remind each other of a simple truth. The ocean does not forgive, and it does not forget, and so the legend lives on. A ship here one night, gone by morning, leaving only whispers carried on the wind. Perhaps it was destroyed by nature, perhaps by men, or perhaps by something darker. But the sea keeps its secrets well, and some mysteries are not meant to be solved.